So posting on LinkedIn won't get you clients, and the reason it being is simply because that although content is, really quite good, right? Content is quite good because you're able to get in front of, those sort of ideal clients, and it's something which you can put once, put it out there, and then that, gets in front of people. Now, the problem is you don't have any control over who sees this, right? The algorithm does. And as much as you can tweak content and you can improve it and refine it, at the end of the day, you can't say with certainty that the right people are even seeing this stuff. Which is why, sometimes even when you have people that will post content that gets, hundreds and hundreds of likes, how many of those individuals are actually, those ideal clients? How many of those are even converting? But I find that you actually have other people that will post content that will maybe get what might as well be 5 likes, but actually are able to convert through content as well. But the point here is really that content isn't the best way, right? Content is still good to have out there. I'm not saying content's not good. I'm saying that if you're trying to get clients and more importantly, consistent lead generation coming through, there is a better way. So this way is primarily through outreach. Now, outreach is a probably a bit of a horrible word for a lot of people. But the approach that I like to use is warm outreach, right? We're dealing with people that are familiar to us. There's no spam. We're not trying to sell people in the DMs. We're trying to do a few things. When I approach warm outreach, what I'm trying to do, and the reason why I'm doing this is because I can control this, right? I can control the amount of people I'm reaching out to. I can also control who I'm reaching out to, meaning that let's say I say reach out to 20 to 25 people in a week. And they are people that, perhaps are in my network, people that have recently connected with me and such, then I have the confidence to know that if I message 25 people in a week, I'm going to get some idea of, how many roughly would be likely to convert. As opposed to content, which I can keep posting out, but I'll never really know if that's going to give me the results I want. So when it comes to warm outreach, I want to do two things. The first thing is I want to be able to personalize the message. The reason being is because, I mean, you've probably been on the back end of some of these messages, but perhaps you've been sent cold emails, cold messages, which are simply just trying to promote, right? Right. They're simply just trying to sell. And that's all it is. Like it doesn't feel personal, it doesn't feel relevant to you. And the problem is that when you get a message that is simply just trying to sell, it doesn't feel personalized to you, you don't feel like it's meant for you, right? You just sort of almost just sort of switch that off and you just sort of chuck it away a lot of the time. It's not saying colder, like, those very salesy stuff doesn't work. It's just a lot of the time it doesn't really, feel relevant to you, right? So what we want to do instead is we want to try and make this feel relevant to someone. So what I'll do, whether it be warm outreach or sometimes when I do perhaps more cold outreach on LinkedIn Sales Navigator, the approach is still the same. First of all, I'm going to personalize it. Now, to personalize it, I'm not going to overcomplicate this. I'm simply going to look usually at the most recent post and I'm going to effectively like it, and I'm just going to then start the message basically saying why I like their recent post. Now, you want to keep this somewhat specific. Don't just say nice post or saw your recent post, it was cool, right? You want to keep this somewhat specific so that it could only be said to them. Now, like I said before, you don't need to overdo this, but the whole idea here is that you can at least say that you have actually, sort of looked at it, right? You've actually looked at their content. Well, that's an I, by the way. But you've actually looked at their content. And so they can see, oh, okay, they've at least taken the time to look at what I'm doing, right? And a lot of the time that, that probably builds more respect than you actually realize. So that's really the first thing. Just personalize that message at the first thing. Then the next thing what we want to do, which is actually really important, is ask a qualifying question. Now, what I mean by this is a very specific question to quickly identify if they have a problem that you can solve, right? Because we want them to open up about a problem that we can solve so that we can then propose a sales call. And the reason why I say this, and perhaps maybe not like a bit of like a warming up thing that a lot of people recommend, is that the moment you send this warm message here, the receiver on the other end knows exactly, most of the time, exactly why you're there, right? because they know that you're there to get something from them. They know that most likely, unless you were, at a networking event together or whatever, they know that you're there for something. So cut to the chase as opposed to trying to build some fake rapport and ask some very broad and vague questions, only to get broad and vague answers. So this is why I asked a qualifying question. Now, what does this look like? So by asking a qualifying question, I'm able to quickly identify, do they actually have a problem I can solve or not? A lot of some of the times I'll message people and they won't have a problem that I can solve, and that's fine because I can cross them off the list, and that's fine, right? Perhaps maybe in the next few months I could reach out to them again and see if the situation changes. But the reason I ask it is so that when they do open up about a problem that I can solve with, then it's a very easy transition to helping on a call with them. So, for example, for me, if I'm asking a qualifying question, obviously the sort of first sentence is going to be the personalized line. The second line will then be a qualifying question. So, for me, I might ask about someone's LinkedIn lead gen, for example, right? Get very to the point and just, basically ask something along the lines of, hey, how's the LinkedIn lead generation going along? Is it doing well? Right? Something is sort of casual as that, but it's very specific, right? And it's trying to get an answer, right? And from this, we'll probably get a few answers. One of which is that we'll get ghosted, and that's fine, right? If we get ghosted, we can always send a follow up, but doing outreach, it's going to be natural. And if you don't like getting ghosted, then this probably isn't for you, and business probably isn't going to be ideal for you either. So, ghosted is really the first one. Another one is that you can get a response that basically says that they don't actually have a problem. Um, this is better than actually being ghosted because then you've actually got some feedback. Now, when you do have someone that perhaps, says actually, yeah, things are good, LinkedIn lead generation is good, or whatever it may be, you can either take that for granted and be like, yeah, cool, right? Or you can actually press a bit further because some people obviously might just say it's good for the sake of trying to maybe avoid that conversation. And so sometimes, for example, for me, if someone said LinkedIn lead generation is good, I might be like, ah, great. Or if I just ask how the lead generation is going in general and they say it's great, I might ask something more specific in terms of say, oh, well, does that mean you're getting this many leads a week or booking this many sales calls a week? Or perhaps I might even ask actually, well, where are those leads coming from, right? Is it all sort of referrals and sort of word of mouth? Or is it actually say, like from LinkedIn or such, right? Because this way, if I find that actually, oh, well, perhaps a lot of it is from referral and word of mouth, and all of a sudden it's like, well, as good as that is that predictable enough, right? And is that actually giving you the sort of leads and consistency you want, right? So all I'm trying to do is ask questions to get a bit sort of further and closer to, perhaps where they're trying to go. And then obviously the last thing as well is that they could actually just say yes, right? They could say actually yes, LinkedIn lead generation isn't actually consistent as I want it to be, or it's not really bringing me anything at the moment, or so on and so forth. And from there, it's going to be a very easy transition where the moment they've opened up about a problem, whether it be massively or just very shortly, all we want to do here is we then want to propose a call, right? There's no point in asking, or at least there's no point in drawing the conversation further and trying to ask qualifying questions when in reality, these are probably questions that you'll end up asking on the sales call anyway, right? And I find that you just want to, the moment they open up, just propose to hop on a call to chat further, right? To chat further to see if or how you can help them. And make that super clear, by the way, because if you make it a very broad thing of just hopping on a call to chat more about it, some people might come up as tire kickers. And I've made the mistake before. And so this call needs to be very specific to you being able to see if you can help them. And then really from there, all you can do then is perhaps just maybe one or two times, in a very sort of near part. So let's say in the next sort of day or so, or you could even drop your calendar there as well. So overall, this is pretty much my sort of process or better process for getting clients because, like I said before, right? posting content on LinkedIn, is good, right? You know, like content's good. It allows you to show stuff, and I like a lot of the time I'll use content to try and be able to raise awareness of sort of individuals, and sometimes even actually use to share some results I'm getting for myself or even for my clients. So it is useful. The only thing is that you don't have as much control over it as you think, which is why if you can have an outreach system, it's particularly warm, right? If you really want to, you can go to cold. I do a bit of cold outreach as well on top of my warm outreach. But if you can, at the very least, do warm outreach and deal with people that are sort of around your sort of space and recently connecting with you and profile viewers, and you can keep message personalized and you can ask qualifying questions with it, you're going to start to have a bit more control over it. Now, I'm not going to say the moment you start this, you're going to start booking calls, but being able to use a similar system like this should be able to give you more consistency in terms of your lead generation, which also will allow you to get more clients as well. So hopefully you found the video useful. If you have, that's great, and I'll catch you soon.